So let's say you want to make a character that uses Orihime's Shunshun Rika. Well, you're in luck because today we'll be looking over at Bleach's leak-spinning fairy fighter and #1 waifu, I beg to differ, Inoue Orihime, as we explore her abilities and expanded spell list with a new sorcerer subclass. Hello and thank you for being here, and welcome to My Wife Is the MC. I'm DMV and you're watching Husbando Homebrew, a show where we take pop culture to pen and paper. The sorceress origin for today is the Sheltering Soul. Its core feature involves the use of familiar-like partners called spirit sprites that manifest Orihime's force field abilities. In my research into her character, which is copious amounts of the Bleach wiki, my initial gut reaction was to represent Orihime with a bard subclass, which kinda tracks. I could have flavored her bardic inspiration as her spirit fairies and call it a day. Ultimately, I find Sorcerer to be more narratively satisfying in terms of character fit, especially since Orihime doesn't belong to any college or organization, nor does she display a vast array of expertise. On that note, her first Sorcerer's origin feature is the Spirit Sprite spells. Yes, it's all alliteration from here on, and yes, all these S's are hell on my audio plugins. This feature gives her a bevy of spells that represent what she can do, such as Cure Wounds or Sanctuary, all the way up to Wall of Force. The additional spells are one of the ways I interpreted Orihime's Shunshun Rika ability, and specifically call out a creature called a Spirit Sprite. Now these Spirit Sprites are each their own stat blocks, and treat it like a special familiar or a partner creature such as the Battlesmith's Steel Defender. The rules outlined in this feature indicate how you can manage them in and out of combat, how they live in their little pocket dimension within you, and how their actions rely heavily on your bonus action. The rules also indicate when you can heal or revive one of your Spirit Sprites. You've got 3 distinct Spirit Sprites, which are tiny fae, and all of them are unique stat blocks. Let's first look at the Supportive Spirit Sprite. While it's only one stat block, the Supportive Spirit Sprite is actually composed of 2 individual creatures that share 1 HP bar. Hence, they get the Twin Sprites trait that grant advantage on Wiz saves. In Bleach, the Supportive Spirit Sprite represents the healing powers of Ayame and Shuno. Of course, you can name them yourself. I prefer to name these two like and subscribe. In terms of actions, they can do a basic Sprite Strike melee attack, which is a simple D4 force damage. The real star of the stat block, however, is the Sacred Return Shield. This deals a number of D6s of force damage up to your proficiency bonus to the Spirit Sprite, which it resists, and then it restores twice as much hit points on one creature. This is going to be a running theme for the 3 Spirit Sprites, where it uses their HP as a resource for their special action. Next is Protective, which is a trio of Spirit Sprites that grant advantage to con saves and represents Bygone, Hinagiku, and Lily. This Spirit Sprite has the highest HP and generally the best in terms of survivability. It has the same Sprite Strike for offense, but something very special for defense called the Sacred Link's Shield. This special action unfortunately steps on the Abjuration Wizard's turf. It's only slightly balanced out by the fact that the Spirit Sprite has to concentrate on it, and the damage it takes in lieu of the target isn't something the Spirit Sprite always resists. Last is Combative, which represents Tsubaki, the fiery fairy of fury. He doesn't have the highest HP among the Spirit Sprites, but he's got some defensive traits like Dex and Wiz saves and Flyby to help him stick around. He is your Glass Cannon, what with his superior Sprite Strike that deals 2d4 plus your proficiency bonus. Combative special action is the Sacred Cutting Shield. Think of it like using the Catapult spell, except the Spirit Sprite conjures its own Discus Shield for catapulting. The resource drain here is the number of d6 in force damage it deals to itself whenever it cuts through any object. There are other features here that get unlocked as you reach higher levels, and we'll get to that in a bit. At 6th level, however, you get the Spirit Sprite Synchronicity. Yeah, the alliteration ain't stopping, baby. This one alleviates any verbal components of commanding your Spirit Sprite, as well as any verbal component of Spirit Sprite spells. This one allows you to use your reaction to manifest your Spirit Sprite and use its reaction ability, like an opportunity attack or something else. Speaking of something else, let's look at the 6th level abilities that your Spirit Sprites gain. Sportive gains a bonus to one creature's death saving throw and potentially gets them back to 1 hit point. Protective lets you use the Sacred Link's Shield as a reaction, like casting the shield spell but flashier and fairy-er. Combative doesn't get a reaction other than an opportunity attack, but it does gain the Spirit Surge trait, which buffs up your spell damage while it's within a short distance from you. At 14th level, you get the Spirit Sprite Soirée. Why yes, I do speak a bit of French. Je parle français, ho ho ho.
Bidet.
Bidet to you, sir.
14th level is a major power boost for most sorcerers, and it's no different with the Sheltering Soul. This feature lets you summon 2 Spirit Sprites at any given time instead of 1. While you can have 2 Spirit Sprites doing things separately, you can also have them occupy the same space to form a soirée. This grants several benefits like having all damage they take and being able to move in sync. Putting them in said soirée also lets you use a Spirit Sprite Special Soirée action. Whew, 4 S's. That merge 2 Spirit Sprite abilities. Let's take a look at the soirée actions. A supportive Spirit Sprite alters its healing ability to cover a small area within Dome of Return when in a soirée with a protective Spirit Sprite. Or it grants THP and potentially regenerates severed body parts when in a soirée with a combative Spirit Sprite using Regenerating Return. For protective Spirit Sprite, it can use Resisting Links when in a soirée with a combative Spirit Sprite to make a retaliatory attack once per turn, or use Soothing Links when in a soirée with a supportive Spirit Sprite to slowly regain HP to the ward's target at the start of each of its turns. Finally, a combative Spirit Sprite can use the Hallowed Cutter, which both heals and hurts depending on whether the target is friendly or hostile. Winged Cutter, on the other hand, increases the area of the Sacred Cutting Shield's projectile while it's in a soirée with a protective Spirit Sprite. The subclass capstone ties it all together with a neat little ribbon with Spirit Sprite Symbiosis. This one grants you different bonuses depending on how many Spirit Sprites you have remaining. You gain defensive bonus to your AC and saving throws equal to the number of living Spirit Sprites, or offensive bonuses to your DC and spell attack modifier equal to the number of fallen Spirit Sprites. I certainly hope you try out this Sorcerer's Origin. It took like 3 or 4 revisions behind the scenes, and I felt that the different stat blocks similar to how I built the Hector Homebrew was the most apt way to represent Orihime both narratively and mechanically. Let me know in the comments how you would play around with this, and remember to share this with your brother. Speaking of Hector, here's a link to that video in case you haven't seen it yet. Until then, my wife and I hope you have a great day ahead.